What is up, everybody? Here on Stick to the Skrip. It's been a little bit since the last episode, but we got a good one today as I am with Lopes. If you are seeing this on YouTube, I'm not like in some sort of secluded hiding or anything like that, or in an interrogation room. Got Mila behind me. She's here for the full week, passed out, and I'm gonna do this in the basement still. I got a little bit of a light. Lopes is there with the blurred background. We got a good dynamic going on right now. But what we got going on today, you got some good topics, covering some different things. And Lopes, I can ask how you are and just have like a soft opener. But I thought we'd just have a good icebreaker. And what better of an icebreaker would there be to talk about than Anthony? And the thing with Anthony is I know he's been somebody that can push buttons. I know he's been somebody that has pushed your buttons in the past. And I gotta ask, and I'm when you start answering, I'm gonna shoot over and turn this fan off because it's fucking driving me crazy. But what's the most annoying thing that Anthony does? Because I know he can annoy people.
Oh, let's see. I have to give this one some thought, but I mean, it's tough. You got narrowed down one thing. I mean, one thing I've always kind of been frustrated with, and it took some getting used to over time, was essentially not letting Anthony get under my skin. He still does every once in a while. I think I had to learn that from you as well. That most of the time Anthony is saying shit because he wants a rise and he wants to get some sort of reaction, and that's something I struggle with. I didn't grow up with brothers. I didn't grow up with anyone trying to push my buttons and trying to get a rise out of me. So Anthony, it's very easy. He'll say the one thing or one, two things that he knows will light up that flame in me. And it's funny because he just literally looks back at me or looks at you and you guys just start laughing. And that shit took some like really long time to get over and get used to and realize that's just how you guys are. And to be honest, yes, what I used to think of it as annoying has become kind of like the norm now. He'll say something stupid to me, and I just kind of look at him and go, "Okay, Anthony." You just got to kind of brush it off. But there are times it still gets to me because he's just sometimes relentless and just keeps going until he can get something that actually pushes me over the edge. Oh, can't hear
I'm all over the shop here today. I was trying to think of some things that I can think of when it comes to Anthony, and obviously like being his brother of forever, a lot of things come to mind. But I literally took down the one note. I don't take a lot of notes on this podcast just because we're talking about life and like normal things that we don't need to take notes or stats for. But I literally wrote down digging into something over and over and over again, because that's exactly what you mentioned. And that's what he does. And I agree. I think, there's times where me and him are probably like a very bad pairing, because once we like both kind of start going into some, messing with somebody, I know you've been on the receiving end of that sometimes, unfortunately. But I know, like, as a pair, we're bad. But I know as Anthony as an individual, he is extremely bad when it comes to just like digging into something over and over again. And just when you think that topic is done and he's done talking about it, he continues to do that. I think strategy would just start to be, hey, like, what what could other pairs do to potentially annoy Anthony? I think that's got to be something me and you talk about in private.
you. Like he's telling me you can't hear him saying nothing gets to me.
No, oh, of course, yeah, nothing gets to me. Like that means nothing to me.
Yeah,
Um,
the
but
stupidest thing you've ever said. Stupidest
oh
comment
yeah,
I've ever heard.
yeah. I love that because I posted that for his birthday, and like it got a decent amount of Facebook likes and shit. But I don't think only certain people knew. So I posted, if you're listening, I posted a like it looked like a quoted like picture. It was Anthony in a suit looking serious, and it was a quote from him. And the quote said that was a stupid comment, because that is a direct Anthony Script quote, and people liked it and thought it was funny, but they didn't really understand, unless you're like Lopes or I, that's like fucking true to Anthony at
Mantra.
the end of the day. But we just had his birthday. You came through to Bedrocks. I want to just like maybe briefly talk about that night. Maybe like briefly talk about Bedrocks lifts. We've had a lot of good memories there. But uh, it started with, a couple of us going to his house pre-gaming for his birthday. He didn't want to do nothing for his birthday. I'm the one that was like setting everything up. People came to his house pre-game. Then we went to the bar. I thought it was a decent turnout. My issue was that I went there knowing I was going to get pretty lit up, but I didn't go there knowing I was going to mix like every alcohol like possible. Any thoughts about that night in general? Were you good that night? Was anybody else like looking rough? Like any thoughts about that Bedrock's birthday?
Yeah, I mean, back to your initial point, I mean, Bedrocks has kind of got a nostalgic feel for me now because I would say, I mean, we've all known each other for a while now. And, it used to be Anthony's, and we've kind of gone here, there, everywhere, but Bedrocks is kind of where we really found home because, $3 drafts, like, what are you going to do? Like, you
Yeah,
can't beat that, especially on craft beer. But no, Anthony's birthday was great. I was scared that he wasn't going to do anything. So it was awesome to see a text saying that we were going to all get together, especially because with the way things have been lately, it was nice to get everyone together. And agreed. For the sake of staying PG on this channel, more so for people that may know me, yeah, I was a little lit. Shook it off a little bit, but yeah, same thing. I mean, there's a lot of different mixings. You know, First starting off with the like Vegas bombs when Santillo gets there, or the what did you have like the Bazooka Joe shots, which are absolutely
yeah.
awful from
Uh,
tequila with Tane, and then McGlynn has his JMO shots. So I mean, those are for you listening. That's just a few. I mean, that's not even everything, and then you add the craft beer on top of that. So and then if you guys have never been to Bedrocks, they got the darts, they got the pool, they got the beer pong table. It's a super awesome environment with live band almost every time we're there. But yeah, I mean, it was solid. I didn't feel so great the next morning. It was a full day recovery. I had to kind of do a tag in with Caitlin to have her watch Aria until she had to go shopping with her mom. But no, man, it was a good time. I always love going to Bedrocks with you guys. It's always a solid night, and I always look forward to going back.
Yeah, I thought it was a great night. We had obviously the both of us went, Maddie, my girlfriend Tess, and then McGlynn went. Tane was there, Santillo, Veronica, and her sister. Lund was there. Like it was a good turnout. And I went into this whole thing like, into the whole birthday, like, you know what, we're gonna get fucking lit for his birthday. I honestly have not been going out that much since I've been splitting time with Mila. I'm not gonna say I haven't gone out, but I haven't really gone out too much in all honesty. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go hard. And the unfortunate thing was that, like you said, you had one person buying. Veronica looked at me at one point. She's like, "Do you want to do tequila?" I said no. And then I thought, and I was like, "Yes." So I did that. And then Jameson with McGlynn, and then Tane was buying shots. I bought some shots. Chris bought some shots, and I feel like I can drink beer all night. It's the mixture of shots that always
hmm
destroys me, and I felt like super bad because like I'm saying whatever on the show. It's my show. My like girlfriend was staying over that night, and she doesn't drink. She really doesn't drink, and she was actually drinking that night and having a good time and meeting people and stuff. And I felt fucking bad because I like it got super patchy. It got super patchy the rest of the night, and I remember like certain things and stuff. And I was like, oh fuck, of course, like this is gonna be the night. Like she comes out and I just am like fucking blacked out, don't remember like a chunk of the night. And it is what it is. But Bedrocks does something to us. But I
It
do think
does.
it's a much more low key spot. Like Anthony's, I liked Anthony's and everything. I just like, you know, I have my reasons. I'm not trying
hmm
to be there all the time and stuff like that. But I actually do like Bedrocks. Yeah, that's like my new like. If I'm gonna go out for a couple drinks, it's always low key. We turn into more.
hmm Yeah, it's always a
Yes.
great time. Environment's great, and we always leave there feeling better than when we got there. So, I mean, that's the thing for me is I don't want to go somewhere, spend money, and just be like, okay, well, this is a cool place to drink. I mean, we take
Yeah.
advantage of everything they got there from, like I said, all the other extracurricular stuff. And I mean, I think we play beer pong like every time we're there, so it's
Yeah.
always a good
Yeah.
time.
I think I might have played, and all I remember is somebody told me that I said that the guys over there were weird or some shit, which is typical Nick thing.
Yeah.
Typical Nick thing. Like I don't want no fucking guy friends, no new friends. I don't like any bouncers. Like whatever. But it was a good night. No drama, which
No
I love.
drama. Yep.
That's my big thing. My big like 2023 thing is like no drama for most things. And obviously
Yeah.
there's been drama with a lot of aspects of life, and it is what it is. But nights like that where you walk away and you're like, you know what? A lot of people came through, no drama. Everybody had a good time. That was good.
Exactly.
But
Agreed.
shifting over of recent, big things that have happened. Obviously, you and I are still very very good terms. I care about your daughter a ton. You see Mila all the time. I literally see Arya every day at daycare for the most part that I pick her up. And your family is obviously, I'm saying, like, you Caitlin, Arya. I always want to be a part of your family. We've had those discussions before, so I was so happy to see your guys' gender reveal and the results of it. Like I was rooting for you for a little bit. So I know it was a good outcome. And I have a couple questions, and it's going to be like
Sure.
a fire round set of questions that are about your future son, because you guys had the reveal. It was blue. You already have your daughter, who's around the same age as my daughter, and you got 1-1 right now. And I know, even if you won't admit it, that's kind of what you were hoping for there. But first question here. So first question with the gender reveal, having a future son. Be honest, on a level of 1 to 10, how scared were you it would be a girl?
10 being the highest.
Yeah, 10 being
Uh,
the highest.
like 1,000. Uh, I
Damn.
went in with the purple polo. I had like all the pink stuff like already picked out and ready to go because I thought there's no shot I'm getting a boy. It was just odds against me. Caitlin and her family, a lot of women. Um, I'm an only child. My dad had one of each with his brother and sister, and then my mom had one brother. So for me, I never knew what that could look like. So I just went into it thinking, well, if it's a boy, awesome. I got what I wanted. I get one of each. I get to do the whole dad son parenthood. If not, it's a girl. I've already gone through the girl situation. You're a girl dad too. You know what that's like. You know how awesome it
Yeah.
is. Just adding another one would be great. I'm sure they'd be close. But for my namesake, my last name is only 2 generations. So for me, it was a lot of pressure wanting my name to go on. And I think I kind of fixated on that a lot more than anyone else did in my family. But
Yeah.
no, the second I saw that blue confetti, man, I felt that tear just like roll out. I couldn't hold it in because there's like so much of what I've been wanting. I love Arya. Arya, when you're older and you listen to your uncle's podcast, I love you. You're my firstborn. That's never going to change. I did hope you were a boy, and I would never take anything back. I love you to death, but uh, boys for me is what I'm used to, right? Like I'm going to be putting them through the ringer. Sports will be a priority. High urgency to get them in early and have them doing all the trainings. Not that Arya can't do that, but it's just for me that's been something I've looked forward to since I became like a full-fledged adult and started thinking about
Yeah.
a family. So happy to see it, looking forward to it, and I'm sure he'll be going to the Skrip soccer camp when he's a little bit older. So
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Getting screamed at. And hopefully when Arya, if she does listen to this podcast, she's like at least like 21, like 25. It's a little explicit on here. We say some bad words and things like that. But I got more questions. I got more
yeah,
questions when
go
it
for
comes
it.
to this. So you have a name, or is
We do.
that or not yet? Not yet. Like
I mean,
like
it's not
a
like we've
public.
really been
Like you
too
don't no
secretive
don't
about it.
announce the name. Like if
Oh
don't
yeah, no,
announce the
name
name.
is picked.
All right, all right, all right, all right, all right. So just little questions, little questions. All right.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think your son is going to be more like you or like Caitlin?
I say Caitlin.
Okay. All right. And any specific aspect, or just you just have
Arya
the
has a
the,
lot
the
of my
feeling?
personality. She's very rough around the edges when she's angry and frustrated, which is exactly how I am. So I'm just putting odds on statistics that little boy Lopes will probably be more like Caitlin, a little bit more sensitive, more in tune with his feelings and how to handle them. Uh,
Yeah.
Pretty much all I can go off that. That would make sense on this podcast. That won't get me in trouble. So
Yeah, yeah. Some of these are borderline get you in trouble, so you just don't get yourself in trouble. What if so how strict are you gonna be having a son? Are you gonna like really push specific things on him to really try like you're gonna really like push the baseball like on him or something like that? Like what if this guy like wants to cheerlead or something like that? Are you gonna be strict about what he's gonna do at the end of the day?
Um, I mean, probably not. I want him to definitely try the stuff I played. I played soccer up until high school, from the
Yeah.
age I could walk. I also played baseball simultaneously. Played baseball up to college, through college. For me personally, it's like those are what I would love to see him play. But hey, he comes out saying he wants to do gymnastics or lacrosse or whatever. I'm not going to stop, because I mean, I'd rather him be doing something physical than nothing at all. I mean, I'm a gamer, that. I'm really
Yeah.
into it. I spend most of my time inside if I'm not with you guys. So I'd prefer him to stay physical until, he's an adult and can make his own decisions to stay inside.
So at what age do you fear that he takes over as the man of the house?
13. Yeah.
13?
I'm
All
short.
right, all
I'm
right.
not tall.
That's
I'm
that's a
5'7". So I feel like he'll outgrow me by 13, 14 and probably beat my ass regularly. So
All right. So on the same sort of note, like what if he is born and he just like instantly challenges you? Like is it gonna be a problem?
yeah, I'll probably ask Caitlin to prop him up so we could square up in the hospital. There's doctors and nurses right there, so whoever's going down, at least there's support there and ready for whatever goes down. But I mean, Arya flicked me off when she was first born, so I mean, I would expect Boy
Oh,
Lopes to probably
yeah.
do something similar, probably square up with his fist to my chin.
All right. Next question. What's one thing you hope one day having a son? Like I don't have a son. I mean, I like coach a bunch of boys and stuff, but I think it's a bit different of a bond. You don't want to say like a relationship with the little girl versus little boy. You have bigger goals, one or the other. It's going to be different at the end of the day, but you still want to raise kids in the same sort of manner, things like that. But what's one thing knowing you're going to have a son that you want to hear one day, or you hope that your son says like, "Hey, my dad taught me this." Like, what's one thing that comes to mind? My dad taught me this.
Uh, Going a little bit more sentimental, probably off of like past history of myself, is I hope he could say to always respect his mom, uh, to make sure that she's,
Yeah.
until he's old enough to get married and everything else, that she's the number one woman in his life. I didn't have the best relationship in my life with my mom, and one thing my dad always taught me is no matter how bad things get, she's always the most important person until you get married. And I hope that he could say I raised him to be like a gentleman, make sure that all of that stays kind of self-centered. I mean, I'm not saying I had the best history growing up in high school and stuff like that, but maybe it's because I'm getting old now. I'm starting to reflect back on those things. If not, I hope he could tell me, tell people like, hey, my dad taught me to hit a home run and stuff like that. I mean, stuff like that. It's tons of aspirations as a dad, especially going into it with a boy now. I mean, you already said it. I've mentioned it. It's not that Arya can't do these same things, but it's just a totally different environment now that it's a boy. That I'm used to and accustomed to, and it takes me back to like the days of my dad driving me to practice and taking me to camp afterwards. Those like 10-hour days between the both. So hoping to get a few things out of it, but only time will tell.
I like that though. I like that though. I think that actually is something not talked about a lot, and it is something that is kind of a slept on factor of raising like a boy into a man is that aspect of like how they I mean how they treat women is a big thing, and how they respect people, because you see people like far too often, like the way that they like guys, the way that they treat women and the way that they speak to them, and like their demeanor, things like that. And sometimes it makes you wonder like who fucking raised you like to be
Hmm.
like that, like obviously through time, like I'm sure you weren't a saint, I'm not a saint, probably didn't done some like d-bag stuff through time, but when you look at these like terrible situations of like guys like in a just abusive, verbally, physically, or just don't have a lot of respect for women. I think it is a reflection of their upbringing and stuff. Because I
Right.
never would picture myself like being something like that. But it goes a
Hmm.
long way when that's something you push on, a young boy who turns into a man one day. And
Yeah.
I don't think people talk about that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more. Like, I think it starts with your internal family, your immediate family, and that's something you and I have always
Yes.
kind of been able to relate to is both having like Italian moms. I think both of our moms are very similar, different, family styles. You have brothers and a sister. I didn't, but I mean, the same thing was my mom's the matriarch. She was still the center, head figure of our family. I feel the same way about Gina. And it's funny
Yeah.
now because now I think of ever talking back to Caitlin, I feel like if I look over my shoulder, Gina's gonna be right there, smack the shit out of me. So it's, something that I want to make sure I'm always praising to both my kids is like, hey, right now you're young. I'm gonna give you no shit over that. You're growing up, but like, hey man, once you're of age of knowing that shit, that all stops, and hopefully they take that into their future and uh, bring that into normal life lessons.
Yeah, I think you make a good point too of like how things are kind of built inside of a household, and how relationships are in front of the kids, and that's the way in their development as well. Like being somebody who's divorced now and stuff. I think about that sometimes with Mila, and even though we're in a separated household and stuff, I still think that the way that I you know treat her mom in front of her is going to be very important,
Hmm.
and not speaking in front of Mila any sort of, in any sort of negative light. I think that's important too. I think that goes a long way with this showing how, for the people in your life, you have that respect in the way that you act, and you act towards other people. I think goes a long way with kids developing too. And you don't have to always sit them down and say, hey, this is how I am to this person. No, they're going to see it all the time. So
Hmm.
again, being like divorced and stuff, I think that's something that I'll keep in mind for Mila. She's going to see my interactions with her mom, and it doesn't ever need to be anything negative or
Hmm.
anything like that. I think that'll go a long way. Last one, you mentioned siblings, um, and obviously Arya is going to be a big sister for your little boy. How you think that's going to go? Because you see it happen. Some kids are great. Some kids are great. They are instantly wanting to help and take care of their younger sibling. Some kids are the opposite. Like they're like, all my attention's gone. Like I'm like jealous, like this and that. There's some kids that are somewhere in the middle. I think like I look at like Martin's Lorenzo and Olivia. So Lorenzo being the older brother. I think at first he was a little iffy with her. And you see now it looks like through time he's like pushing her in her like car and stuff, and you see
Yeah.
him being a true big brother and stuff. But how you foresee like Arya? You think she's gonna take some time, or she's gonna be all about it right away?
Um, she's always been kind of very partial towards like younger kids. So it's funny, she's actually going through a phase right now of she'll tell Caitlin or I to like lay on the ground and she'll cover us with a blanket and give us like a bottle and stuff like that. It's almost like her sisterly instincts are already kicking in. It was cute. She actually put her hands on like Caitlin's belly and said hi, baby's name. Um, and that's like huge because yes, there was moments. I mean, I think we've both been blessed for the last, almost soon to be 3 years, seeing Mila and Arya kind of grow up hand in hand with the 3 weeks apart, go to the same daycare and all that. And I think they, for the most part, at least in my eyes, Arya probably does see her as kind of like a sister that's just not there
Yeah,
every day. The way they interact, I mean, they both greet each other at the door. They're both excited whenever they come there. I mean, they have their own private little kid conversations. So I think she's
yeah,
been kind of prepped for a while now of like what it would be like to have another sibling there. And we're doing our best to basically talk about the new baby, get her excited, tell her like, hey, sharing is good, or hey, it's good to be gentle and be aware of like how hard you hit stuff, which is like always 99% strength. So
yeah,
those
yeah,
kind of things are something I'm sure right now when there's not an actual human here grabbing her toys or taking her food and stuff like that. I mean, or the
yeah.
attention. You'll have to just see, but I do really feel it in my gut that she'll be a good big sister right off the bat. Maybe a few tweaks here and there, but I think she'll be a natural when it comes to that. So I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, yeah, and I think I think the daycare, helps in a way as well, just being around other kids like nonstop. And now, like, some of those kids are obviously like Mila, and some of those kids are the same age, but now, being around a kid all the time that is younger, and knowing like, hey, that's my little brother. I think she's gonna do well with it. And again, I mentioned it before, but I love seeing her every day coming up to the door when I go and get Mila, or the days I pick up Mila and saying like, hi uncle. And now she's got some other like super tiny little girl calling me uncle too. But I think that's funny. Uh all right. So you mentioned before earlier on the podcast, pivoting here, video games, big video game guy. I know Anthony is as well. You guys like have that in common. I know you f- not diving into the story, but one of your better friends you met online video gaming, and you guys have met, and I've met him in person multiple times too. And you look at when people say like, oh, I game, like you just think it's probably what I do. You have like a beer and you're playing whatever. But I mean, you've built some relationships, and you've also used to stream and stuff like that. So I want to ask. I think this is a decent question here, but propose a video game for PS5 to drop. So something that is not available, something that you thought, hey, this would make a good game. If you got like one, two, whatever sort of things, like name drop them here.
Oof.
I asked this because uh they had that like Hogwarts game that dropped, and everybody went crazy because it was like almost like a GTA Hogwarts. Like I haven't
Yeah.
played it, so I don't know much about it. Anthony told me about it. I saw videos, but that was like such a huge thing for people because they're like, oh my god, like I loved Harry Potter, the Potter world growing up, and now I have this like GTA version of like I can do what I want to do on the
Yeah.
PS5, and it was such a huge, big selling video game just because
Hmm.
of that. So what do you think comes to mind? Is like, hey, they should fucking make this a game. It would do well.
It is coming, and you already kind of touched on the genre. It kind of reminds you of is it's not really like a creative one because it is something that's actually in the works. Is the new GTA?
Okay.
As you mentioned, I mean, I've been gaming since I was like eight or nine, and the group that I have is spread out from California to Florida, all the way up to New York. And one of the games that we really enjoyed spending our time on was Grand Theft Auto. I
Yeah.
mean, the stupid shenanigans you could pull on there and everything. And talking about the Hogwarts game, which like literally blew off the charts when it released. I mean, it's going to be the same thing with this new GTA. It's something people are waiting for. The graphics will be absolutely amazing on the new PS5 and everything else. So, I mean, I'm sure there's other stuff like on a sports note. I know you're a big FIFA guy. I know you play Madden. I'm looking forward to the new Madden, and I know that'll probably get a lot of boos and a lot of jeers. But the reason I say that is because EA is actually kind of holding their Madden department accountable because the game's been kind of ass for the last like 10 years. So
Yeah.
um, that's something else I'm excited for. We're both big football fans. I mean, I love video gaming, so combining the two and being able to play a game, it sucks when the game is very copy and paste. So I'm excited to see what comes from EA and out of the Madden department next year. Same with the FIFA. I mean, FIFA is naming rights and all that's supposed to be changing. Stuff like that's supposed to be different. Sorry, I'm probably making myself sound like a massive nerd because I do follow gaming as much as I follow tech.
I brought this shit up. I brought it up.
But yeah, no, that's the stuff I'd probably say. Keep an eye out for whenever the new GTA is supposed to drop. Could be this year, could be next. And then definitely like when football season comes around, it'll be interesting to see what kind of improvements they make there. Same with the FIFA department.
I have to. This does not have to do with this topic. I'll go right back to it. But I have to ask you. Give me your initial thoughts. I don't know if you've seen the update. I don't know if you've seen the update, but David Montgomery. Speaking of football, David Montgomery. Guess the team. Did you see the update or no?
No,
He's
no.
not a bear right now. He's not a bear. Um, think think. I'll give you a hint. Think like I would probably really not like this spot, but he is on a new team right now, It just dropped. Like while we were on the podcast, it flashed on my phone. It said David Montgomery agrees to terms.
Uh,
All these people are adding me in my fucking leagues right now. It's pissing me off. And then we'll go back to video games.
hmm, somewhere that he's probably a backup and not the
I
star running
mean,
back.
I don't know how it's gonna work, but everybody's adding me right now because I have a lot of this other guy that's on the same team. That's my hint.
Hmm. God, I haven't opened Sleeper in a while. Because like my initial thought was right before the podcast started, I saw like Eckler being talked about, and I don't know if that was just to start conversations with the contract again, but like going to the Chargers would suck, especially if he stayed there. But I'm trying to think of like who do you have stock in running back
Like
wise?
like
You're in
a
like 14 leagues. It's very hard to know like
a, a ridiculous amount of stock. Like like I'm listening to you, man. I'm listening to you this whole podcast.
yeah, hold on.
I think it's going well. But somewhere in my mind right now, I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me that this just happened.
Dude, I know I haven't seen it, so now I'm like trying to like I'm trying to like
Don't
look,
look,
but
don't look. No,
okay,
don't
okay,
look.
okay, okay, okay,
I'll
okay,
tell you.
okay, okay.
I'll tell you. You want me to just tell you?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
He's on the Detroit Lions.
Oh, god damn it.
Are you fucking kidding me? So I don't know. I hope to God they trade DeAndre Swift. I hope they trade him. Trade him
Well, yeah,
away.
you
Trade him
have so
away.
much stock in here, and with William,
Yes.
where did Williams go? Is he still there?
I thought they were gonna bring him back, and apparently they brought in David Montgomery. So Dave Montgomery and Jamal Williams are two big bodied running backs that can probably like punch in a touchdown. So I don't think they're gonna bring Jamal Williams back now. Just seeing that. I'm very surprised that they did that. But I
Hmm,
hope they trade
that's
away Swift. I
frustrating.
mean, it is. But
Well,
yeah, yeah. I mean, the, that I had to bring it up because you brought up Madden, you brought up football, and like
yeah,
I can't
damn
hold
it.
this in. I can't hold this in.
Yeah, that's
Video games
unfortunate.
wise, the video game part though, is I'm like going crazy right now. GTA. When did that last one come out? Because it feels like that
Oh,
came out like 10 years ago or some shit.
yeah, when the PS4
And
was still out,
it never
early stages of the PS4.
it never went away. Like I feel like people to this day are still like really playing that game
Yeah.
too.
Servers are still up. They still support it. They still do events and stuff like that. So
That's
that's
interesting.
kind of
That's
common
interesting.
with those big multiplayer games online is they can keep them up and running for a while as long as anybody's still willing to pay money. They're making money. So
So I thought, and I know they made another game, and maybe it's very similar. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I know they made another Pokemon like game before, but I just want like straight like the Pokemon fucking red, Pokemon blue, whatever, like that original Pokemon, but like make it the same game. Whatever. Maybe they add to the story a little bit, whatever, but make it that same exact Game Boy version of Pokemon Red, Pokemon Blue, whatever, but make it a PS5 version where everything is PS5, like meaning that they up everything. The graphics are crazy. It's the same sort of like you do what you want. You do what you want. Like obviously you got to hit the gyms and stuff. You want to like catch Pokemon and stuff. You do what you want. I feel like they made something like that. I think, but I want like just like literally the same fucking game, but
yeah,
like the PS5 version of it. Is the one that they made like that, or is it?
no, it's everything nowadays is open world. That's what the kids of today want. Their brain can't stick with just like the same path. Like for us, it was something so new that it was like, oh, look at this. This is fun. There's these little animals and these little things that you can capture. So like it didn't matter what to us what the game looked like because that technology was so new. But the new ones, I mean, the on the Switch, it's the graphics look great, but it's nothing like I remember as a kid. And I mean, I know Anthony plays it and stuff like that. I've tried to get back into it, but for me, it's just so different that I lose interest pretty quickly. So but yeah, I'm with you. I mean, a red, even the yellow with the Pikachu on the cover, bring that shit back.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that. Those games were fire, and it's unfortunate, but I mean, I guess those game companies and Game Freak probably just don't see money to be made in remastering old games. So don't know if we'll ever see it. Maybe like a certain anniversary edition, they'll bring it back and be like, hey, look at this surprise. But for now, I just can't really see it.
Yeah, I feel like there's like such a market just because like all of us played that game. All of us had the Game Boy playing the Pokemon original game, and just to like be like, hey. we brought it back. Obviously, you'll have young kids that want to play, but then you'll have our market of people that want to reminisce and be like, dude,
Yeah.
it's literally Pokemon Yellow. It's the same game,
Hmm.
but it's like the graphics are 2023 graphics. I feel like that'd be such a good game.
I
Another
mean,
another
even
game I oh go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, even like the Pokemon cards that were a thing when we were little too. I mean,
Oh yeah, yeah,
those are still
yeah.
selling like crazy, and I mean, some of those cards sell for like over thousands, of hundreds of thousands of dollars, which is crazy to me.
Did uh did they ever remaster Left 4 Dead?
Hmm. I don't know. I want to say yes, but I can't remember. I mean, I know there's been other ones, but I don't know
Yeah,
if
like
it was like remastered or anything like that. But
I know
maybe.
there's a bunch of other zombie games, but that was like the OG for me at least. Like, oh, that was the one that, it was I don't know, it was fun back in the day. I thought that'd be something cool if they remaster that.
Yeah.
Is it anything else come to mind? It's like, oh, they really should make
Well,
that
there's The
game or
Last of
make it a
Us, the
game.
show that's out right now. Not
Oh
a lot of
yeah.
people know. It's funny. It's obviously a super hit show on HBO, and it's getting all these ratings and stuff like that. But some people forget that it's actually a game first, and was a game that like blew the minds out of like all these gamers. So anyone that does like single player games and likes a good story with awesome characters and stuff like that, I definitely say give The Last of Us. It's been remastered, so it's available on the PS4, PS5, and then you can watch the show and actually know what's going on instead of having to wait that week to week. Even though I think the season finale was Sunday, so but that's definitely a game, especially because it's got the zombie genre and the story and plot and all that's fantastic. So
And we mentioned football before, but they do I think having the plans to bring back college football, right?
yep, yep, next year.
Yeah, that's going to be a big one for sure.
Yeah,
But
NCAA
but
is
that's
finally coming back.
that's just an example though of like something people have wanted for a very long time, and finally it's back. So it's going to make a crazy amount of money instantly. I feel like because everybody's wanted it since the last time it was available back, way back then.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, nostalgia of
long
NCAA
time.
and all those games.
Yeah, a long time it feels like. Uh, I was like clicking buttons. I thought I clicked out of the show there. So last topic of the day, and I wanted to check just with you on the topic just to see if you were up for it and everything. But I thought that we don't have to dive super deep into it or give like tons of the details on things. But I thought that maybe there were some bigger things we can maybe like touch on that some people can relate to and take
Sure.
something from it. But I know that you had a very big loss in your life, and I've opened up about one, and I've told you before so many times.
Yeah,
Like I've told you this before, so I want to make sure that the listeners here, as well, that I compare it not at all. I don't compare it at all. Like there's I'm sure there's little things we can compare, but I don't compare our two losses. But I've talked about like the loss of my nana who lived next door to my parents' house, and I was like extremely close to, and second mother to me, and I had a very hard time dealing with that loss for many years, and even to this day I think about her all the time, and almost every day actually, and I had a rough time, and I know you went through an even a big loss, like a really big loss with your mother, and I know that's something that you've had to deal with through time, and I wanted to ask you a few questions with dealing
sure.
with a
Yeah.
lost one and dealing with a big loss, but through time were there you know were there changes to how you were able to deal with that? And the reason I asked that is because, like myself, like I'm relating back to it, back to this whole topic, just because I felt like I went through a long time of not really dealing with it, my specific loss well. I think that I dealt with it extremely poorly, and over time, I found ways of like not feeling better, but like dealing with it better. And
Yeah.
the reason I ask you that is because I think other people listening might be able to relate. Like, hey, I've recently had a big loss. I had a big loss 10 years ago, and I've struggled to like deal with it properly. But I wanted to ask that, like, through time, were there changes to how you dealt with that?
Sure. Yeah. So for those who don't know, 5 years ago, my mom passed away from cancer. You kind of heard as we talked about earlier through the podcast, growing up, me and my mom, I think is because our personalities were so similar, it created very different ways of dealing with arguments and stuff like that, which caused me to kind of drift more towards my dad, and not really spend as much time as my mom as I would have liked to. So the day that she passed, it was, I think, probably just like a massive wave of shock. I also don't deal with like very sad emotions well. I kind of wall them up and
Mhm.
kind of push them away because I don't want to face those feelings. And I'll be completely honest, hand to God, that I mean, it took probably weeks, maybe a month longer before it fully hit me. Which, again, the whole point of this is for anyone listening to know that that's fine. Like, however you handle it's going to be different. Same thing as Nick mentioned already, they're two different situations. Nick's Nona was like very important to him, and that's someone he saw every day. Me and my mom didn't have the best relationship until she got sick, and that was something that started very late. But no, it hits me hard nowadays, a lot harder than it did when the first year or something like that happened, because I have a daughter now. That would have been her granddaughter. It's tough to see her be around Caitlin's family and have all the grandparents there, and then every time my dad comes over, it's always just him, which is fine. She loves my dad and everything, but it does take time. The healing, you got to kind of let yourself be vulnerable. I know that sounds real cheesy coming, over a headset on a podcast, but it's the truth. I mean,
Mhm.
you got to let it kind of sink in, or else it kind of just becomes like this nagging feeling, being like, well, I'm probably upset about something, but I'm not going to really think about it too much until eventually it just kind of overfills the cup, and it kind of just becomes way overwhelming. But no, I mean, it's an everyday thing. Some days I catch myself talking and I'm like, who am I talking to? I'm like, oh yeah, that's right, probably talking to mom, and all that stuff. And it's awesome too because Aria's never met my mom. Obviously, my mom passed before she was born, but like she picks up pictures of
Mhm.
her all the time, and we'll be like, "Hey, that's grandma," and I'll be like, "That shit, like that like pulls on me, man. Like it's like, how do
Yeah.
you know that? Like who told you that?" So no, I
Yeah.
mean, it takes time, and sometimes it'll never go away. For me, I've learned to try and look at stuff more positively. Shit can go bad at any moment in life, so for me, it's just better to try and focus on positives than focus on the negatives. I think we're all kind of getting to that point now of realizing it's like it's better for all of us, health wise, mentally, our kids, everything, to just stay positive. So it's the best advice I can give.
I think that's good advice too. And everybody deals with things in different ways, and I know that people have found different ways to deal with their own specific losses. And like for me, one thing that actually helped a lot is that and again, like, I'm just talking, something personally, but I wrote like a giant fucking email, or I not an email, but like I printed it out, but I wrote this like open letter, to my nana that I lost, just saying like a bunch of different stuff in there. I had some stuff about, thanking her. I had some stuff about, where I was in life at the time. I had some like regret stuff, and I just spelled out a bunch of stuff. And I felt like for the first time in a long time, I was just like getting everything off my chest that I felt like I couldn't before. And that kind of like helped to a degree. Um, and I'm not gonna say it made me feel better, or like, oh, like not, I was just changed after that, but it was just something, is a step, um
Yeah,
for dealing with the loss. But um I know I know other people that have lost, parents before, and I know it's a whole nother beast though, at the end of the day.
yeah,
But it's like, something that again, I appreciate you talking about it, and
yeah.
you mentioned, some advice about positivity and things like that. Was there anything else you can toss out there for somebody that might be, or might be dealing with something similar, or it just happened to them, or they're still struggling. Anything else like you can kind of toss out there, because like from an outside perspective, I've seen the posts, and I've heard you speak about her, and we've had conversations, and I can't speak for how you feel or what you go through or what you went through or anything like that, but you've come a long way just in life with like moving forward and like getting, promotions, getting new jobs, having a child, about to have a second child, maintaining relationships and really pushing forward through things. So I respect you a lot for that. And yeah, just is there anything else that comes to mind, is like, hey, toss this out there for somebody that might be listening?
Sure. I mean, I kind of hit on it already, whether it's loss of somebody, breakup, lost job, something. I mean, I'm not some like inspirational quoter or speaker. I'm also not like a psychiatrist. I can't tell you that this is going to work, but at least for me, and especially like having a, 15-week month, no, 15-week pregnant wife, I mean, keeping positivity, it seems like such a small thing, but I mean, it's crazy that if you put yourself in the right mindset, like it's sometimes it is harder to do than it is to just say it. So I get that. I'm probably talking very much as like someone, it's the eye of the beholder. It's probably easier for me than it is other people, but I'm just saying this like to give it a shot. If you are going through something, just try to look at for the positives where you can, look for the good things, find people that make you happy, that keep you happy. Because at the end of the day, I mean, you're the only person that's going to be able to make things better is you. Maybe having a supporting cast around you is awesome. I agree with that wholeheartedly. I love the people I have around me. Having Nick, having Anthony, my other friends that I've had since high school. Those are the people I want around because I'm laughing. Even if I'm pissed, I'm angry. Having that around me keeps me moving forward, keeps me going in a direction, and I'm not staying stagnant. I'm not sitting in the darkness trying to like claw my way out. I have people that I could call and talk to. Again, remove all those people, remove the jobs, the shiny things, the money. You're the only one that's going to be able to make yourself happy. So, again, I'll stick with the positivity mindset. Try to look for the better. If you are listening and you're going through something, I'm there for you. I'm rooting for you. Um, and you got a good guy right here. Interact with him because I'm sure he'll respond to you.
He's not talking about me. He's talking about somebody else. No, no, no,
Yeah, the
no,
guy
no.
right here.
Yeah. He's like some random person comes from behind you, like, yeah, I'm right here for you. No, no, that's a great note. It's a great note. It goes hand in hand with a lot of things talked about on this podcast and different episodes too. With you know, whether it's finding your circle of people that can lift you up when you need it. They're there for that, and then they're there for you when you're at your highs. You got to find that group, and you got to find that circle that's been talked about on this podcast before. I think that goes hand in hand with this. A lot of personal things, individually, about finding ways to pick yourself up and move yourself forward, and having the mindset that goes hand in hand individually. What he just said as well, with you're gonna have those people, but at the end of the day, like, you gotta get yourself. You gotta bring yourself up, and push yourself forward. So I like those points you made, just because it feels like it's been things that have been talked about on this podcast on other episodes. So that's not, at the end of the day, it's not my intention is to like have these podcasts like interloop and stuff, but I actually like the fact that they do, because I think some of the topics are, things that can apply to life, and people can really hopefully relate to in some sort of sense. But again, appreciate you, talking about that briefly, and your
Sure.
experience and things like
Thank you
that,
for having me
because
on that.
I I I think, again, many people might be able to relate, or one day might relate and stuff. So hearing that, I think, goes a long way. And if 100 people listen to this podcast, and like one person walks away and they're like, hey, you know what, that piece of it meant something to me, and made me think about stuff, then it's worth both of our time at the end of the day. So
Yeah, agreed.
um absolutely. So we'll that'll be it for the topics I had. We're right around 50 minutes almost. So is there anything, as we pivot away from that last topic, anything you want to close out the show by saying? It could be anything in the world. I say this. I say this always. Some people don't say anything. Some people say a lot. Whatever you want. Open mic, and then we're gonna close out the show.
um, yeah, Dom, I'd like to see you more. So if you could come around, that'd be cool. Anthony, Looking forward to meeting your little girl. Still a bitch though, but still love you at the same time. Nick, glad to have you in my circle. That'll never change. Caitlin, Aria, little boy Lopes. Looking forward to the future of our family. Everyone else I can't mention because there's not enough time. Stay positive, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll see you all around. Nick, thank you so much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. That was a great message to end the show on. I'll just say on a side note, Saturday I'll be floating around the Dunkin' Donuts on Droughton and Theodore Road. I'll be chilling out there. So if anybody who's got any issues with me, I'll be there 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. But thank you guys for listening to the podcast. Stick to the script and appreciate Lopes. Appreciate your time, man. It was a good show.
See you
See you
guys.
guys.